who's next? Yeah, who's next? Who'll ride a greyhound all night long? Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. This podcast exists because we want you to win. We want to bring all this knowledge to the table and turn you into a real independent artist that has leverage, that has an audience. And that's why we named it The C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. See what we did there? Genius. I want to introduce you to my co-host, Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, some of my artists, and more. He also helps songwriters turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and what I love and near and dear to my heart is the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
Hey, and I would like to introduce y'all to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound, and they help you find your audience. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating that all-important cash flow.
Yeah!
Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. And why? Because there's only one Johnny D.
That's right. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm hunky-dorky. I'm doing all right.
Hunky-dory?
Hunky-dory. Or dorky, one or the other.
There you go. So we are...
chunky-dorky. I'm chunky-dorky.
You know, I forgot to mention something, but we're past, at this moment, we're past 40,000 downloads by the time this episode drops, for sure.
Awesome.
Way past.
Thank you guys.
40,000.
Thank you guys for listening, for downloading, or downloading and not listening. In which case you don't know I'm saying thank you, but thank you anyway. But especially for those of you that are downloading and listening and telling your friends and leaving iTunes ratings and reviews. Thank you very much.
That's
actually, we got a little bit of news. Isn't there a new spot that we're on that you can find us?
Oh, yeah. We are now
We're expanding the empire.
That's right. We are now distributed through iHeartRadio. So if you have iHeart, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, that is.
If you have iHeartRadio app, you can find The C.L.I.M.B on iHeartRadio and listen to the podcasts there. We try to make it as easy as possible for you.
Discoverable. We want to be discoverable. That's right. So hey,
the
last episode
on the that's right on the while we're thinking about thanking, we've got another. I want to read one more review that's on iTunes. So, guys, if you like what you're hearing, first of all, we want to encourage you to share it, because if you like it, chances are you got a friend in the industry, an indie artist, songwriter friend that's gonna get value from this and get some inspiration, some motivation, and some education to take the next step forward. Share it with people, and please take a couple seconds, go on iTunes, leave a rating and review, and let everybody else know what you think about it. So this particular review is entitled "Old Hog Finds an Acorn." It's a 5-star review. I think that's all we get. Yeah, and it's
one
from
for every finger.
That's right. Awesome. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right, there we go.
A high 5-star you. This is from Guy from Virginia, 2017, and it's a 3-word review. Honesty, honesty, honesty. And there it is. I love this.
Love it.
Love it. That's right. Live it. Love it. Learn it.
Right.
Anyway, brother, we are at the hands of the master here. What do you got for us today, Mr. Brent Baxter? Tell me a story.
All right. Well, there's as a songwriter, there are, we do what we can to write the songs the best way to make them cuttable, to get them in that room where people are making those decisions on like what goes on the record, what doesn't go on the record. And, and we kind of give them up. They're our babies. We send them out into the world and hope they don't get eaten by wolves. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we write these songs, we send them out most of the time, unless you're the artist, unless you're the producer, you're not in the room where those decisions are getting made on what makes the final cuts on the record. All right. Mm-hmm. We do what we can to get it into that room. After that, there's a lot of stuff that happens that maybe doesn't even really have to do with the quality of the song. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You know, you're in the elite company once you're in that room. And at that point, they really dig all those songs, and they start looking for reasons to thin the herd, reasons not to cut a song. That process of attrition, we got 30 songs we really dig. We're only going to put out 10 on the record or 11 on the record. And, you know, let's say you've written a very, very good song, and it's on hold for an artist named, I don't know, like Luke Paisley. All right. And it's down to your song and one other song as to what they're going to cut, the last song that's going to make the record. So the artist likes both songs. So it's basically like a tie going in. And that's when the tiebreakers might kick in. All right. So that's what this episode is. It's 6 songwriting tiebreakers. So if you're in competition neck and neck with one other song, what's going to make the record, what's not going to make the record, or what's going to make a single, what's not going to, these are 6 potential tiebreakers. So I want you to be aware of these. That way, when you're writing, some of these you can affect. Some you can't, but it's good to know kind of what the lay of the land is. But definitely the ones that you can affect, it may affect how you pitch, all that other stuff. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But okay, you want to hear these, Johnny?
Yeah, man, lay it on me. I'm done.
That's good. If you said no, it's be a super short episode. Sorry, I'm keeping this information to myself. Good luck. All right, so 6 songwriting tiebreakers. Number 1. Personal relationships. All right. So is one of the songs that you're competing with, or that you have written, was one of the songs written or published by a friend of the artist or the producer, whoever, is making the big yes on that decision. It's more fun to call your buddy and say you just cut his song than it is to call your buddy and explain why you didn't cut his song. Right. All right. So if you're going in and the song that you're in competition with, one of the writers is buddies or has a good personal relationship with the producer, the label guy, the A&R guy, the artist themselves, that can be the tiebreaker. So that's, you want to say best song wins, but you know what? Every song that gets to that level is a really good song.
Yep.
And then they're looking for reasons to cut one and to cull the other. And it might just be like, man, I'm supposed to go deer hunt with, Billy this weekend. I don't really want to tell him when he has a rifle in his hand that I didn't cut his song. That's it. That beer is going to taste a lot better, when we're hanging out and talking about how good the cut sounded.
Yeah.
I don't mind people calling and whatever the other guy that I don't even know that wrote the other song. That doesn't affect me personally. That doesn't give me sad feelings. I don't care. I don't know who the writer is.
Yeah.
So that's the first. Personal relationships can definitely be a tiebreaker on the song. So this is some, again, good songs. Everything's solid. They're neck and neck. What might make the difference? Could be personal relationships.
Let me jump in for a second. Think about this in terms of something real world that you've all gone through already, where you've either been in a position where, and I would love to know what the statistic is, but how many people have jobs as a result of a referral, right? And rather than me just going in with a resume and just, meeting somebody for the first time and they're meeting me for the first time, how many times have you gotten a job in your life because a friend was like, hey man, I know you're looking for a gig. This guy's got something for you over here, whether it's a construction job, a secretary job, whatever, right? And how many times have you been the person that was doing that? Like the one saying, hey, helping out a friend, like I can get you some work over here and do that. And then you're practically in, aren't you? Like you're one step closer when you have that relationship built like that. Exactly. And it benefits your wallet.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if it's, your resume is sitting right next to somebody else's, very similar, but the friend of the hiring coordinator, the HR person goes, oh, I know Johnny. Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah. Right off the bat.
There we go.
Boom. There you go. And think about 2 things. If you're the person on the receiving end of that, you knew walking into that you had a little edge because you got the inside line, right, at the company. Right. And think about if you were the person that was telling the HR person about your friend, hey, hire him, he's great. He's gonna do what you need to do for him, and you can try. I mean, think about how that made you feel.
Yeah, made you feel good. You're helping out a buddy.
This is what's going on. This is nothing new. This happens everywhere else.
It's not dirty. Yeah. It's not cheating. Nope. It's just, if it comes down to 2 really good songs, I want to call my buddy and give him the good news.
There you go.
But it's more likely to happen. more likely to happen because your buddy's got bills due, or his wife's pregnant, or he just got divorced and needs money, or whatever it is. There may be those things too going, yeah, so-and-so needs, that might be a tiebreaker. So number one is personal relationships. It's simple. It's not always fun. It's more fun when you're on the positive end of them. Second one, business interest. So, would a publisher, a manager, or someone else owe the artist a favor or feel thankful if the artist cut one song over the other? Is there some hidden long-term advantage to be gained? Or would the artist or producer be returning a favor by cutting a particular song? That's kind of the back room. Hey, I owe you, you owe me. Yeah, he did me a solid 5 years ago. This is my chance to kind of, I feel reciprocity toward this. Oh, that's one of your songs. Okay, well, it's just as good as the other song. I'm going to go with yours because you gave me a bag of groceries 10 years ago when I was nobody and didn't have any money, didn't have anything going on.
Yep.
That kind of thing. So it could be that, or it could be, well, I have, my buddy works there and it's his publishing company and it's one of his writers. So if I cut that song, that's a good thing as well. There are all kinds of that kind of stuff that may factor in as well.
And you know what? Let's circle back around one more time to, like you said, this isn't dirty. This isn't underhanded. This isn't cheating. You've all done it. You've helped out people in your church. And they've come back and they've been like grateful and they get back on their feet and they do something nice for you in return. You've helped out fellow songwriter or let a bandmate sleep on your couch because, something bad happened between him or her and the significant other and they needed a place to stay and you're there to help them pick up the pieces and then they return the favor and they're like, hey man, I never forgot about this. I want to do this with you. These same things, it's the same thing. It's just happens to be in the music industry in a place that you want to break in on, So,
yeah, and number two closely correlates with number three, which is financial interest. So, if the artist is a writer or publisher on one of the songs, well, he makes more money if he records that one versus an outside song that he doesn't have a financial interest in.
Yep,
makes sense. Okay, so You all right there? You gonna make it?
I'm gonna make it. Sorry.
Okay, good. We love you. All right. So
usually I hit the mute button. I screwed up. Sorry.
it's late. It's the third podcast of the night. So all right. So financial interest. So yeah, I mean that's part of why you see so many, artists as a writer on the song. Yeah. And their publishers like that. Their record label likes that. They have part of the publishing. All that brings pressure to say, okay, in the event of a tie, the song that the artist co-wrote is probably going to win just because it stroked their ego, strokes their bank account, makes their publisher happy with them, makes the label happy with them if they have publishing interest. All that stuff comes around to it as well. So that could be a tiebreaker.
And let's talk about that. So on a label deal, I mean, is there a label deal out there anymore that isn't a 360 deal? It doesn't have an interest in publishing, like with the artist. No. So I mean, for my artists that I produce, that I develop, I want them in the co-writes. I mean, very rarely do I get an outside cut. Brent, you know that for a while. It's a rare occasion when I'm like, I need an outside cut and I need this to happen. And there's certain planets that have to align to make that happen. But if I have my druthers, if the planets are aligning the way that I'm making them align, then I'm going to have that artist in the room with the writers so that they have more leverage for that reason, that they have more leverage, with the label. It improves their ability to get a label deal. So keeping that in mind, I mean, the point that I want to make is I think a lot of writers out there I often hear that, Brent, you hear it all the time, like, how do we break in? How do we do this? How do we do that? Well, one of the best ways that you can do that is really, even if you're not in Nashville, if you're in wherever, Podunk, Oklahoma, like, who are the artists? Who are the guys, who are the local guys and girls playing those bars and making that happen? Because that's where they come from, and they make their way to Nashville. And if you can get in and start writing with them, lo and behold, you've got a leg up, and you get you get your chops up with writing, and it's also you get some early sort of artistic satisfaction, because you can go down to the club and hear them play it. live,
Oh, yeah.
and you can hear that thing come to
That keeps you
fruition,
going.
man, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So that's a way that, I mean, if I was a songwriter and I was trying to get to Nashville, but I couldn't get to Nashville right now, I would be like within a 150-mile radius of where I live. Fine, I would know every single freaking artist, and I would be knocking them down to try to write songs with them, you know, to make that relationship and get on that co-write.
Well, that, and they make, record the song for their own thing, and then you have, if nothing else, you have a cut or a free demo.
Boom. There you go.
Use, But yeah, and this may be a frustrating episode because many of you may be sitting out there going, okay, well, I lose that tiebreaker, I lose that tiebreaker, I lose that tiebreaker. But they are what they are, whether you realize them and you accept it or not. So when you identify them, then you can start working toward, I want to be on the winning side of that tiebreaker. Or I'm just going to have to, my songs are just going to have to blow everybody else's out of the water. What do they say? Even if you think it's cheating, it's kind of like that old saying, if it ain't close, they can't cheat.
That's right. That's right.
But if it's close, this kind of stuff kicks in. And it's best to be aware of it so you can go, okay, how can I work where their financial interest aligns with mine? Oh, right with the artist. So therefore, you got the personal relationship working for you and the financial interest. The artist wants to cut the song because they have publishing on it. And, look at that. You happen to be on that song too. That kind of stuff. So, just be thinking as you go forward, how can I work my way into some of these?
Helps you from getting depressed too. You know what I mean? And looking at it the wrong way. Because, I mean, once you're there, you're there. And if you understand the way the game works, and it's no different than the way your life works and inner workings when you're trying to help this person and that person get a gig, or you were helped by this person or that person to get a job. It's no different. But when you understand that, then it's not as devastating, I think, when it's between you and somebody else and you don't get it. You're like, I'm blessed to have that opportunity. If I got one opportunity, I can get two opportunities.
Right.
If I got two, I can get four.
If I'm good enough to get my song in that room, maybe I'm good enough to get me in that room eventually. And write the song with the person that, it's almost like, okay, that's almost an audition song. That's your resume song. That may or may not get cut, but it may get someone's attention enough to go, yeah, that's right. Because that was really cool.
Yeah, man.
So if you're getting close enough to get shot down, at least you're in enemy territory.
Boom. There you go, right? You're doing something right.
Doing something right. They got to, if you're getting rejected, excellent. I remember when right after I moved to Nashville, there's a song that I, brought to town on some trips beforehand and had with a publisher, and found out later I was going to lunch or something, or was dropping by the office, and the plugger there was like, I played her a song or something, just kind of getting to know her more. She's like, oh, I know that song. I played that for Tim, for Tim McGraw. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, he passed. I was like, you played that for Tim McGraw? Tim McGraw heard the song. I was so stoked.
Yeah, man.
And she's like, oh, yeah, I played that for Tim. Yeah, he passed. And I'm like, that's the best news I've heard in like years in my songwriting career. That he even heard it to turn it down.
Yeah.
I was so thrilled that like Tim freaking McGraw heard my song.
Yeah, man. That's a win. That's a win.
That is a win. I mean, it's still exciting. I heard, the other day, somebody, I'm going to send it directly to the artist. I had got an email back, a pass on a song from Kenny Rogers. My co-writer forwarded me the email. He's like, not quite, whatever, pass. I was like, Kenny freaking Rogers heard my song.
You will be cool forever.
Like, he just heard it. Didn't love it, apparently. I don't care. This is pretty cool. I've heard I've heard so many of his songs. By the time he heard one of mine. But anyway, so yeah, a lot of it
I say that again.
I've heard so many Kenny Rogers songs about the time he's heard one of mine.
I love that.
So yeah. All right. And this is coming from a guy who's had cuts, and I still get excited about that. All right. So we've done personal interest or personal relationships, business interest, and financial interest. So number 4 is safer bets. Okay. This would get into CY8 territory. So if one song is written by a proven hit songwriter and the other one isn't, the artist and his team may lean toward the hit writer's song. Since there's always a little bit of a guessing game when it comes to what songs are hits, a song written by a hit writer may feel like a safer bet. Again, these are 2 or more songs that are really close. They like all of them, but they look at one and go, well, that's a Shane McAnally song. So if I like them both, odds are the Shane song's going to get the love.
Yeah.
You know, it's that perception of they see that name and they expect quality.
Yep.
And
they get it because they get it from Shane McAnally.
He's earned that they expect quality because that's what they get, right? Yeah. And so if they're not sure, should I single this one? Should I cut this one? What goes on the record? What doesn't? You know, well, Shane's got a track record a mile long, and so odds are, you know, people dig his stuff. The crowds dig his stuff. The radio digs his stuff. You know, the buying public digs his stuff. Okay, that's probably a safer bet. This other thing, which may be a little different flavor, I'm not quite as sure about. But the other thing is, I was talking about the CYA is cover yourself, is, you know, the producer, the artist, whatever, the A&R person who's pushing songs can go back and say they singled the song and it flops. They can go back and go, oh, it wasn't my fault. I mean, we cut a Shane McAnally song and we got so-and-so to produce it and we got, you know, all these players. Don't look at me. I heard all the right people. It must be somebody else's fault.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. That's a good point, man. Yeah.
In their careers, you know, instead of going, well, yeah, we went with it. You know, I pushed for this unknown producer and, you know, cut these songs by people you haven't heard of, and none of them really climbed the charts, which may have no bearing on the chart position, but it may make it easy to blame that. You know, they're just trying to remove fire me triggers. Yeah. You know, so they can go, I don't know, man. It's a safer bet.
And that's just corporate America.
Money, right? You know, so much money goes into these singles and albums and everything, and they're just looking for what's going to get them their money back and make them money. So that makes sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So number 5. Number 5 is branding. Okay, so does one song fit the artist and his brand a little bit better than the other song? Will it speak to his audience in a way that's a little more on point? That can make the difference. Or is one song too much like what he's already recorded and it doesn't take him anywhere new? Those are some of the things that kind of fall under branding as I see it. So, you know, you have one song that's really good and you have another song that's really good, but one song isn't quite his flavor. The other one is dead on his flavor. Both really good songs. He's probably going to go pick his flavor.
Yeah, you know? or his new flavor, right? The new version of his flavor kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Like you said to your point before with is that something he's already done? Is this, you know, this new record, we're going to go this way, and so we're looking for these kind of songs over here, and if you just happen to be in, you know, getting your song in there right when that's happening, that could be a big deal. Yeah,
you showed up with an orange just when I'm hungry for citrus.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, he showed up with an apple. It's a really good apple. I'm just not doing apples right now. I don't do apples, I do oranges. You can bring the best apple in the world. You may get through the door because it's such a good apple. I'm doing oranges. So the orange is going to win, you know. Especially if the quality's there. So it's that kind of stuff. And again, you don't control what their branding is, but when you're pitching your songs, you can consider what have they been doing, what's their kind of brand trajectory, you know, what's it like, what they're on track to be doing, and where their career and where their artistry is going. Okay, let's aim for that instead of sending something that's maybe really quality, but not really what they do. You know, Eric Church and Lady Antebellum, not the same lanes, right?
Exactly.
I can send a really, really good Lady Antebellum song to Eric Church. Doesn't matter. It's not good for him.
Yeah. And so managing your sort of, again, like the sort of negative aspect, like we have as artists when we're crushed because we got the pass. We didn't get we're wanting to get that cut or whatever. Yeah. But one of my favorite songs, I think it was last year, was a Kenny Chesney song. And I'm not a huge Kenny Chesney fan, but American Kids.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking great song, you know?
Yeah.
Originally pitched to Lady Antebellum.
Yeah.
And they said no. And you know what? It wasn't that it wasn't a hit song, clearly, right? It just wasn't their hit song. And they knew that.
I mean, I've heard stories about that, and I'm sure you have too, about, I passed on that song. I knew it was a hit when I passed on it because it wasn't right for me.
Yep. So you know, making sure you're kind of fishing from the right pond, I guess, comes in there.
Yeah.
Too, you know?
I mean, you want to have the right bait for what you're fishing for.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that can come down to it. 2 strong songs, one of them just more on point branding, where they're going, messaging, and all that stuff for their art. So that's the 5th one. Number 6 is singability. And this hurts me as a lyricist. But is one of the songs just more easy and or fun to sing? Is it easier to sing or is it more fun to sing? Remember, these are singers you're trying to get to cut your song. They aren't poets. They're singers. They like songs they like to sing and that they think their audience will like to sing. So that can make the difference too. That's something to think about.
How does it roll off the tongue, right?
Exactly. Like, I had this great song, but there's some things in there. It's not, and it may just be for their vocal style. It doesn't sing as well. So it's not even necessarily a question of quality of your song. It may just be, oh, well, this artist, that's a little out of their range. It's a little bit more of a wide range than what they can do, a bigger range. So, but then the other song, which is also very quality, has a smaller range, might be more right within their wheelhouse, and they can just sing it better.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, I'm going to sing this, 200 dates a year. I'm going to sing that one because I can do that. And the other one, I can probably pull it off in the studio, but dang. What if it's a hit? Oh my gosh!
As a former touring artist, I can tell you that 7 years of my life, just 5-6 nights a week we played, and there were certain songs where it was just like, oh, okay. You're on stage, you got to make that happen, and we
better do it early in the set.
Yeah, I mean, you're making decisions like that because of that thing, and that reminds me of a story of our friend Anthony Oreo, who has got a pretty decent range and and sings his butt off. And was, tooling around town for 3-4 years before he sort of put his artist thing together. He was a writer. And I remember hearing him tell the story a couple times where he was like, yeah, man, I'm going in. And people are like, God, that's a great song. And he's like,
going into publishers.
Yeah, going into
publishers to pitch songs, for other people to cut.
Yeah. And the publisher's like, that's a great song, but who's going to sing it? Like,
what guy out there is going to sing it? Of course, Anthony's like, me.
Yeah, I can do it.
But he didn't have the record deal.
Yeah. So, that's an interesting. Have you ever done that, by the way? I'm curious because somebody pointed out something to me that and this isn't an indictment of anybody's talent. It's just everybody has. Bob Dylan is an iconic freaking artist that was never going to win American Idol, and he changed the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not about that, but like Taylor Swift, right? Very small range, and they changed the chords underneath those same notes to make the songs interesting, right? Mm-hmm. So have you ever sort of broken down the range of some different artists? Like, that's the highest note I ever heard him sing. This is the lowest note I've ever heard him sing. So that you have that intentional roadmap, but their vocal range? I
don't have the ears for that. So what I do is I look at it more lyrically. What do they talk about? What do they not talk about? But yeah, I've been in rooms and we've talked about that going, let's squash that melody a little bit, or we can do this on this, depending on what kind of artist we're gearing it for. I mean, a lot of times we do write more in a vacuum, so we're not as worried about that. But you just kind of know if you're writing a guy's song, there's not as many really rangy singers.
Yeah.
Or if they can, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whether they can't or they just won't. So that kind of stuff. But that's something I am interested in. I mean, if you're writing specifically for a project, I have to rely on my co-writers for that.
Sure.
To go, okay, is this, and I'll ask them, is this fitting, where they would sing it? Or I've had people go, let me change the key. This is more of a, Blake Shelton key or whatever. Then let me sing it in there. Oh yeah, that feels more like him.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you want to make it singable. Because, if it doesn't sing, it won't get sung. That's what it comes down to.
Boom. That's it right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, and there are other things too. It could be, how interesting the rhymes are, how interesting the title is.
Yeah.
That title would look really good on a T-shirt versus the other title. I mean, if they're not getting money off record sales, right? They're not getting as much of that. They still get merch. They get all that. They want to send you the T-shirt table. If you have Redneck Yacht Club, they go, oh my gosh, that's on koozies and that's on, they can put it down and brand it on so many things. That could be the tiebreaker.
They can put it in Happy Meals. Yeah.
It's exactly. And, that's a really good song. But if that's up against another really good song, but then you can see all the marketing, that might make a difference. So there are other things more than just this 6. But just be thinking about that, because what you're doing is you're trying to put yourself in – we're in the service business. how can I serve the artist by giving them something that's on brand, singable, and all the other stuff that, at least what we can control.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's 6. So run them down again.
All right. So number 1 is personal relationships. Number 2 is business interest. Number 3 is financial interest. Number 4 is safer bets. You want to be the safer bet. Number 5 is branding. You want to be on point. And number 6 is singability. You want the artist to want to sing it. So, obviously you can't control which songs are your competition. You can just control the ones that you throw out there. You can't control what other people are doing. You just have to do what you can to give your songs the best chance to win. And so you want to write the very best song you can, always, but also spend time thinking about the tiebreakers and how you might turn them in your favor. It's not easy and it won't happen overnight, but as you're mindful of this stuff and you build your career, it can pay off big time down the road.
There you go.
There we go.
Killer, man. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer episode, but that's not the only wisdom that you have today.
No, that's not the only thing. As y'all know, I like to help songwriters. It's kind of what I want to do. And now I have a new way that I can help them. And there's a place you can go to help you learn and grow as a songwriting pro. And it's not just songwritingpro.com. There's another website you should be aware of. It's called Fretti.com. FRETTIE.com, like Fretti.com. It's another website that I'm blessed to be the proprietor of, the host of, the shepherd of, and it's a place you can post your songs, get feedback on them. We have a private Facebook group where I do a lot of creative Kickstarters on there. If you like the Wordplay Thursday that you hear, that you see every Thursday on songwritingpro.com, this is like that a few times a week, different flavors of it. We also have monthly jam sessions, which online, just ask me kind of anything, and I do some teaching. You can ask me questions, that kind of stuff. We can interact. A lot of that kind of stuff. It's
cool.
Fretti.com. Yeah, so check it out. So that's my call to action. If you get value in what I do, go check that out as well.
I checked it out. And I went right to the song I produced that you wrote with Neil Schuyler.
Yeah, that song on there.
I was like, all right, click.
Yeah, I like that.
Haven't heard that song in a while. I want to hear that. Yeah. But no, that's a killer site, dude. That's great. So FRET is in Tango, IE.com, Fretti.com.
Yep.
And listen, this podcast exists because we want you to win. If you like what you heard, please share it. Let your friends, your songwriting buddies, your bandmates know. Turn them on to it. They could use a little inspiration, education, motivation. By all means, take a couple seconds and leave a rating and review, and we'll read it on the podcast because we read them all eventually, that's for sure. It takes us sometimes a little while to get to it, but we'll read it. So with that, guys, we want you to keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.